Billy, I gotta call you out to start off with, okay? Because you have good sources in the WWE. We know that, and we've had that confirmed by people that in that company have told me. But you went and tried to get a story on your own, and you went to the airport and got and saw Roman Reigns and reported that Roman Reigns does not have a busted eardrum.
Mm-hmm.
And now everybody's reporting like, hey, Roman does have a busted eardrum, and WWE even reported it. So what's I just got to call you out on that one. That was misinformation.
Well, I had misinformation.
Right. Well, you had misinformation because you reported Roman on the show as having a busted eardrum. But they're not having a busted eardrum, but he has a busted eardrum.
That's not actually what I reported. What I reported is that he got on a flight, which you can't fly with a busted eardrum. I saw him get on the flight. He literally got on the flight. So, like, how did he fly with a busted eardrum? Who diagnosed it? I also disputed the fact that Sean Ross Sapp said he was angry at Kevin Owens and he walked out of a press conference. Well, he didn't walk out of a press conference because he wasn't supposed to be on a press conference. He's supposed to be on a plane. And I read that he answered a couple of questions at the press. I heard he answered a couple of questions at the press conference and left. No, he didn't. He wasn't on it at all.
Just so you guys know, I just looked it up real quick, Billy, and it says it is safe to fly with a perforated burst eardrum, but if you had the surgery to repair it, that's when you shouldn't fly. So so you had misinformation on busted eardrums.
Well, it's not.
I just want to correct the record on the story because, like we said, he had a busted eardrum, he doesn't. So we keep 100 here. So it's like,
but I understand what Billy's saying because
I totally understood Billy's story.
Yeah, everybody thinks that. Everybody thinks you can't.
The funny thing about it is I think it's funny that Billy went and did his own reporting for his story instead of getting sources, and he got the story wrong.
Due diligence.
But the fact of this, he didn't have a go. He didn't have a go at Kevin Owens. There was no backstage incident. Right. He didn't miss a press conference. And there was no time for anybody to diagnose a busted eardrum because I knew from that earlier on in that day that the WWE, everybody else had a call time of 2, and Roman was arriving at 4, and I wasn't going to take my kid at 4 because I was in the middle of watching a game from the World Cup, and I said to him, "Look, we'll go after the show because then you can get Triple H as well." And that's what we did. And I watched him come in. So
that's what I'm saying. It's not a big deal.
And this is the other thing. Like, you get these idiots constantly trolling about this, going like, "Oh, it's like stalking and all this kind of." It's like, look, first of all, get a girlfriend, then get her pregnant, and then have a kid, and then get back to me. But lose your virginity first before you criticize me. Lose your virginity.
We got a new sponsor.
Then get her pregnant, then have the kid, and then come at me with your.
And we got a new sponsor this week, Billy. Rexar MD for erectile dysfunction pills.
What's it? Sorry,
we have a new sponsor this week that sells erectile dysfunction pills. So that should not be a problem, right?
That's rexmd.com/K100.
I don't think these guys have a problem getting it up because I think that's what they do all day.
Right.
Like, I think they have a problem actually finding somebody to put it into. Like, that's their problem.
Okay, so there's some hot news this week. So let's hear some of these stories because we got the Mandy Rose stuff and everything. So what we got?
I mean, there's I don't know how much I can say about some of this stuff. The Matt Riddle thing was the first thing that came out this week. I think privately between the four of us, I've had conversations about Riddle before. I'm not going to have the conversations now, but I think we knew what was coming, and I've even at some point said to him what would happen or to be careful with it, and that's the thing. Like, I'm talking from experience as well. Like, a lot of people don't know what the experience is, but obviously I went from a major reality TV show, but it was and people will point out and go, "Oh, you did, you went out halfway through." Yeah, I did, but at the same time, I then went and got a reality show that was running on the side called What the Housemates Did Next, where they were covering my debut in pro wrestling. And when I was doing these wrestling shows, and they were catching my promos, because as soon as they heard me on the mic, they said, "Get him back on Big Brother, get him back onto the talk shows to talk." Because I can talk all day. Like, and I can talk people into a building, and I can talk people into listening to my, which I now do for a living. And
I'd like to hear some of your promos that you have from back in the day. Bring them on the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It says
I want to see how good they are. Yeah. Well, you're saying that you're a good promo guy.
So, continuing the Matt Riddle story.
So I'm just making my point that, like, you're going to get these marks sitting there going, who the f*** are you to tell Matt Riddle what to do? I am somebody to tell Matt Riddle what to do because I've actually lived through his for years and years and years and told him, like, what certain people would be like and what would come about and whatnot. But obviously that wasn't listened to, or it's difference between not listening to it and you don't want to listen to it. Because Riddle wants to do what Riddle wants to do, and we'll see what.
I'm a little bit confused here. What are we talking about?
Matt Riddle's suspension, but we kind of knew we knew it was going to happen. Okay, and but I thought it was kind of weird, Billy. Wasn't it weird? Like they kind of like used his going away as like an angle on Monday night, even though it was for a wellness violation. He's going to rehab. That was a bizarre spot, like with Elias and stuff, everything.
Well, what do you want to do? Just say he's had a wellness violation, or just take?
You just don't really mention it. So that's I thought it was a weird thing. They kind of keeping it in the conversations. Like,
well, let me ask you guys this, and I don't know if Disco and Conan are aware of this. The word is that he had a violation before SummerSlam, hence the match moving to the next pay-per-view. This is actually his second violation. That's why he was sent to rehab. And the first violation was never reported, I don't think. I think they kept that to themselves in the company.
Okay, so how long is the suspension and he's in rehab? Is that what's going on?
That's the word.
He's on a 28-day suspension with rehab now.
That can't be for pot, right?
No, the pot's legal there. They stopped testing for pot. Because there's so many states that have it legalized.
No, it's not.
Like people are legalizing a legal state where marijuana. Like there's like 20 something states where you can smoke pot.
Yeah, pot's a fine. I think a small fine. It's not.
I don't think it's a fine anymore. I think they don't even test for it.
No, it's not. It's not pot. It's something that I believe that him and a few other guys are of the belief that it's out of your system in 48 hours. I've been around this thing. All of my adult life, especially after I went on television, and I never heard of that from anybody telling me that this got in and out of your system in 48 hours. When I was on, in around these guys, that was the first time anybody ever told me that. So whether this belief is right or wrong, obviously it's been flagged up. So maybe I was right.
Well, Billy,
to never know that.
I think the science is that if you're out and you do one or two or three of these things, then it's going to wash out of your system in 2 or 3 days. But if you're up all night doing it, it's not going to leave your system that quickly. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah. So I'm not going to obviously divulge the whole conversation that I've had with you guys, but I think behind the scenes, Joe and Disco, I don't know if I had the conversation with Conan, but I think you guys, from the conversation we had a few months ago, I don't think anybody was surprised by this wellness.
No, of course not. No.
What so,
all right, so let's move on from Riddle. What's your next story?
But I think my main point was I tried to kind of have the conversation, but I think I noticed the pattern with when I tried to approach subjects like that, people they didn't want to hear about it. So
right.